Welcome to the tutorial video for the TechnoWeenies Multiview 9. Hi, this is Courtney Gooden, and I'm here in my secret video layer to do this instruction manual video on how to use the Multiview 9 software, which is part of the TechnoWeenies Video Playback Toolkit, which runs, of course, on this device, Quantum Access Stick PC. So everything you see running in this video demo is running off one of those, and we're using the Bluetooth wireless keyboard to control everything with the function keys F1 through F10. So if you hear me mentioning those, that's what I'm talking about, the function keys along the top here. Mouse pad is over here, the mouse controls and the cursor control keys are under that. Everything else is a standard QWERTY keyboard layout. So without any further ado, let's jump into the demo. Alright, if we come up on our desktop here, the first thing that's going to happen is you got to click on Multiview 9, which is the program we're going to be looking at today. So from the launcher, double click on that. It should flash once and come up in the Multiview 9. It may be in a different layout. It depends on whatever layout you had it up last in, and if you had videos loaded before, they'd be up and running right now. But I cleared out all the videos last time I saved this, so we'll take a look at how to load them. You control everything from this little floating remote control window. The R key hides that and brings it back again, that easily. And you can drag it around by just clicking on the title TechnoWeenies up there and positioning it where it's out of your way. Also, there's two parts to this little control screen. There's the file browser part here with some controls, which we'll get into in a second. And if you click on More here, it will slide over and show you the rest of the controls, which there's a color picker, your in-queue, out-queue, and current position, border control. Yeah, sounds like something from the current administration, border control. And volume controls for sound, green screen button, mute button. And remote control for the network remote, which we're probably not going to demo in this particular instruction video. So you choose your videos to load. Go back here to the file viewer, and you choose your videos to load by selecting a video. This little selector up here with the little icon in the upper left hand corner shows the layout of the current screen, which is 3x3 right now. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so you just click on whatever video. It'll say segment here. It'll have a segment number. So that's the segment we're going to be dealing with when that's selected in green. So let's load up this first video. These are H.264 videos. Double click on it to load it. We'll select our window number 2 here, and we'll load our next one. These were all just shot captured off screen on a camcorder as an H.264. I think they're even 1080p files, but it's best to have 720p files if you're going to be doing this, so you tax the playback processor less. So I'll say right click. You can either select the button by select the window by either clicking up here on this little icon, or you can right click with the mouse on any of the windows to select that window. Now you can see I've got 3 selected. Double click on here in the next video. I'll right click over here on number 4. Double click for the next video. Right click over here. Double click for the next one, or I can click up here to select and choose the next video and the next video. Now you should only load the number of videos that you're going to use. I'm going to load all 9 up to show you that yes, it can actually play 9 high-def videos simultaneously on one little computer like this. So now here you see them. There's 9 high-def videos, and those are all high-def. I can switch. If you want to switch to any of them full screen, just hold down the control key and press the number key 1 through 9, and it will bring that particular, like the golf is number 5 there, and bring that full screen. Escape key takes you back to the multi-view. If I want to look at the MMA, it'd be Control 4. It just switches to full screen. So you can go full screen on any one of these at any time. All the rest of them are still playing. So you can start and stop them using the space bar. on your keyboard. That freezes them all, stops them all. The C key, as in C for Q, C-U-E, like pool cue, will queue up to your N queue on all the videos. Now if I switch over to the other side here, after we've loaded our videos, you can see in our remote little window, you'll see as I click on each window, it will show you the in queue, the out queue. Let me go ahead and start them playing by pressing the space bar. And the tracker will move along through this little gray bar here, so that'll track as you play each of the videos. Each of the videos is a different length, so they'll all loop as long as you have loop IO marks checked over here, which it is. So now they'll all be looping, so when any one of these videos hits its out cue, which is over here at the end, it will seamlessly wrap back to the in queue and continue to play. So now they're all looping, and they're all looping at different points in time since they're all different lengths. You know, this one's 158, and this one's 118, and this one's 105, and this one's 136, so this one's 107. So you can kind of look at the different lengths of each one. And as I click on each one, you'll see that the tracker moves to wherever that file is, and your current position and your out queue and your in queue change if you've set any custom in queues or out queues for each individual video file. You can set custom in queues and out queues. It normally loads if you haven't predefined any in the TechnoWeenies Media Player, which you can if you save your markers there. If you've loaded any one of these videos into the other software, the TechnoWeenies Media Player, and set custom in queue and out queue and function key bookmarks, they will load in here as well, and you can use them. Or if you don't want to use them, clear that marker file from this folder, and then you can set custom in queues and out queues. Let's go up here to 1. Let me look at let me show you the different layouts first. So this is a 3x3 layout. It'll do a quad split. The layouts are controlled here at the bottom, and you got hotkeys for controlling the layouts as well, and that are Alt and the Alt key and a number. So Alt 1 for this first layout would take you here. I'll hit on the keyboard Alt 1. That's quad split 1 through 4. Alt 2 is also quad split 5 through 8. So that's videos 5 through 8. If you've got 8 of them running, you can put a quad splits, and then you can go back and forth between 1 and 2, between the quad split for 1 through 4 and quad split for 5 through 8. 3x3 is what we started out in, so that's self-explanatory. 4x2, it always, when it scales, it will scale the window so that the entire video, whatever its aspect ratio is visible. So it'll put black bars at the top and the bottom if your aspect ratio of your layout doesn't match the aspect ratio of the videos that you're playing. But let's say, for example, in this particular mode, 4x2, if I go over here, and we're in full screen now, but if I hit scale, nothing seemed to have changed, because we haven't scaled this window yet. So if you have never scaled the window, it'll just stay in whatever resolution it's at, but turn on scaling. So now I can drag the window around. And if you're going to be scaling, I suggest pausing the video, because it makes it a lot easier on the processor and the graphics processor, because then it's not having to deal with decoding and scaling and downscaling and rescaling of 9 separate videos all simultaneously. So if you just pause the videos, it can do just fine. So then you'd scale this window to one that matches the aspect ratio of your videos. Sometimes dragging it around can be a little tricky because you're dragging the mouse pointer on top of a video. Sometimes if you drag it by clicking on the little border here, it works better. But it will work if you click on dragging the video. Just don't move the mouse too fast, because it'll get lost and jump around. So you can see it doesn't quite keep up there. But if I click on the little border, it can keep up. So scale the video, let's say this size. We want it to take up half the screen in this particular layout. You could have something else. You could design another graphics file to take up the bottom half of the screen and click on always on top here, and that way this scaled video would always be on top of your other graphic and could, let me get back to the border here, and then your video could play back in a layout that doesn't fill the entire screen. But if you click on full screen, it'll go ahead and scale everything up to try and fill the screen with whatever number of videos there is. Here's one called 1+5 that puts one double size image here and on the left, and 5 smaller size that are half the size of the big one around it. This is useful for doing security kiosks or desks where you're looking at cameras from different locations, and there's the one of interest for the plot is the bigger one. And you can also use 1+7, which is an even bigger window, and 7 smaller windows surrounding it. And of course, when you hit play, it plays all of them in sync with each other. So if you had multiple views of the same action in multiple windows, and you sync them up to a common start mark, you could, whenever you hit pause and C to cue them all up at the beginning, and then hit pause to hit the space bar to start playing, they'd be in sync with each other. So you could see two different views playing in sync with each other. So that's 1+7, and the final layout is 2+8. And this view is used a lot for television studios, where you'd have program here on the left and preview on the right, or preview on the left and program on the right, and then your individual camera feeds in the smaller windows at the bottom. And since you can only play back 9 videos, that's hence the name Multiview 9, the 10th window here to round it out is actually still. So you can load a bitmap if you click 10 here in this layout. You can load a JPEG or a BMP file into this window. And then when you hit the L key, which is our logo key, because a lot of times we use that for a station logo or something, it'll make that full screen. Then you hit you'll notice that the video has paused. And now when I hit play, it starts playing again. The spacebar brings it back to playing again, and goes back to the multi-view. You also have a B key to go to black if you want to simulate the TV being turned off or the monitor being turned off. Of course, you would have your remote turned off. I'm leaving it up on this demo just so that you can see what the heck is going on. I'm using hotkeys to control all the playback. So now I hit the spacebar to play back. And I can hit black B to go to black again. Or I could go L to logo. So you can switch between the logo file, black, and the full screen playback of the multi-view. You can also go to full screen on, like I said, on any one of the files by control and a number key 1 through 9. All right, and escape takes you out of the full screen mode. However, be forewarned, when you're in full screen mode, the pause, play, reset does not work. It just continues to play because it keeps them all in sync and running in the background. And you won't restore your controls until you escape the full screen mode. I may change it in the future, but for now, that's the way it works. All right, that covers your layouts. Now let's talk about the look and feel. You see this white border is dividing all of the windows here. Let me pause this because it's best to change the scaling of the borders when everything's paused. It doesn't tax the processor too much. You can change the color of the border and the size of the border. To change the color, you see this color picker over here. Use the mouse to right-click. If you right-click on any color here, it will change the border between the windows to that color. So I could set it to blue or green or black if I want, or at a tasteful gray, let's say. Any color you can find on this little color clicker, you can set it to just by right-clicking with the mouse. You can also set the color of these little title boxes, which can be slid around just by clicking and dragging them. And you can rename. You can change the content of these legends in the little boxes. Just double-click on it. It then changes white, and then you can now type. Let's say I want to say program in here. Program. And when you hit enter, it'll resize the box to accommodate whatever you typed. And now you can color those boxes any color. Bear in mind that you see this when you see this little thing that says border width here. You can use that scaler there to adjust the border width up and down. So you can go from very fat to no border at all, by turning it all the way down to 0. So if you don't want borders, you can turn them off by turning that all the way down to 0. If you do want borders, you can adjust them to your taste. And like I said, you can right-click to control the border color. But once you set the color of this little text box here that says border width, by right-clicking, we'll set the background color. It also sets the border color, so we'll change that back in a minute. And left-click sets the foreground color. So let's say I want a light-colored background like this yellow and a dark blue as the text color. So now it's got blue on yellow. If I double-click on the word border width here, it will then color all the little boxes and the titles, which still can be turned on Alt-T, to match what you have selected here. So if that's too garish for you, you can, and then once you select that, then you can go back to a different color on your borders by just right-clicking what you want there. And until you double-click on this word border width again, the boxes will stay whatever color you've chosen. So let's go back. Let's go to a blue and white. That looks nice. So we'll make our boxes blue and white. And then we'll make our border gray. So that's how you can control the border width and the border color and content of the legends that appear on the screen there. And like I say, Alt-T turns them all off, turns them all on. You can also move them around. It doesn't necessarily work very well when you have different size windows, but when you're in one of these that has the same size window, like quad split or 3x3, you can move them by dragging one, and if you hold down the Shift key, whenever you let off the mouse button, it'll move all the rest of them to the same position in their respective windows. So if you want them all in the upper right-hand corner, just hold down the Shift key and move one of them to the upper right-hand corner, and all the rest of them will match. So that's a quick way to move all of them to a new position. And of course, anytime you change layouts, it will move them all to the upper left-hand corner. So choose your layout first, and then move your titles around where you want them. Let's see what happens if I put this down here at the center and hold down the Shift key. Yeah, that's not good. So now they're all gone. So to get them back, I just click on a different view and then click back, and then come back to the upper left-hand corner. If you suddenly find yourself positioning using that Shift key to a position that is not tenable, that kind of works for the small window. Here, that one worked because it moves to the lower corner of the bigger window. Let's see if it'll work here in the right corner. So that one works. They don't necessarily all work the same. I guess usually move the position on one of the smaller windows instead of the larger window. We talked about title size. This little scaler will scale the size of those title boxes from almost unreadable to full size. And if auto scale is turned on, which it normally is, you can click on this box here. It says auto scale on. It'll turn off or on. And when it's turned off and you change the title size, they all change to the same size regardless of the window size. So if you turn auto scale on, then they will scale accordingly to the size of the window. So you'll see the one in the big window is bigger than the ones in the small windows. And also then if you scale the whole screen, it also scales proportionally according to window size. As you scale down, they'll get smaller and larger. You can see them changing in size there and changing in their relative positions. There's a great deal of math involved in just keeping those titles where they need to be, but it does that for you. If auto scale is turned on, it'll automatically scale them as you move them. And title size sets the title size. Then next time you quit, by the way, let's go back to full screen. If I were to quit right now, you'll notice I've got a custom name here, program, and I've got custom colors in the titles. So I'll just quit. I didn't save anything, I just quit. As long as you hit that quit button and you don't crash or anything, and you relaunch the multiviewer, it should load from the registry all of your videos, as long as your videos are still accessible. And it will load all of your title colors and contents. So see, that says program. So it remembers all the changes you made to the titles, and changes the colors, changes the color border colors, changes the it remembers whatever layout you were in when you quit, and we'll come back to that position later. All right, we didn't talk about the clock, which we have here in the lower left-hand corner. There's a clock which you can turn on or off. Let's say we're in this Alt-8, which is the layout for like a television studio, and you've got color bars down here on the right side. You can turn a clock on. If you check this box, the clock usually comes up down here, but you can position it wherever you want, anywhere on the screen, and you can size it to be any size. You can go down in size, up in size. You can have it fill one of the windows. Let's say I want to fill this window here. And I could change that camera 10 to say clock. Say I wanted the clock to be a different color. I can choose a different foreground color here in my chooser, and then right click on the numbers down here on the clock, and you can make it green or red or yellow or anything you choose for the foreground color for the text here. Then right click on the clock will come up in that color. Now why is it 8:57? Well, it's not the real time. What that is this time over here, 8:56. So whenever you hit the C key to queue up your video, it will re-queue the clock to whatever number you have hour, minute, and second typed in here with colons in between. So you just set whatever you want your start time to be for your clock, and every time you hit the C key to reset everything, it'll set it to that and start counting. So that's handy to have, so the continuity will match from take to take. The clock will be at the right time, at the right position into the take if you start it right before the camera rolls, etc. So that is the clock, and that can be used, if you're, if this is supposed to be security cameras and it's supposed to be a certain time of day, you can kind of stick it in the upper right-hand corner and say, oh, look, it was 8:56 when the man broke into the house, whatever. All right, so that is the clock. Green screen, sometimes they'll come to me and say, well, can you put our on-set camera, our Arri Alexa image in this window here? Well, there's no inputs on this little stick PC, and probably couldn't digitize something as high-res as that in real time anyway, but you can run the output of the TechnoWeenies toolkit into a switcher that can accept HD video signals and scale them and position them and key them. So if you choose a window, like I'll right click on the one with Ted Cruz over here, and let's say we don't like Ted, so we're going to put a green screen up there. So you click the green button here, and what that does is it fills whatever window you've selected with green. It can be blue, but we'll get into that in a second, how to change the color of it. It defaults to green. So then I could key in take my live feed from a higher end camera, scale it down in my switcher, and chroma key it into my multi-view here so that I could have a live image along with all these others that are playing back at the same time. So you can intermix playback and live using an outboard switcher. So that gives you the ability to do that. Most computers, when they digitize, there's such a delay in digitizing that you would be half a second or 3 seconds late. The image wouldn't reflect what's going on in the room if you're supposed to see some actor live in the room and their image on this monitor also live in the room. The lowest amount of latency is just going through a professional video switcher, which maybe has 1 frame of latency, and you probably wouldn't see that. Okay, that's the green screen. Now to change the color, right now it's set to green, but if you hold down the control key and choose a different color with the left mouse button, you can make it any color you want. Fuchsia, well, that's nice, or blue. Hold down the control key, set it to blue. You'll see the border change around the green button here to reflect whatever color the background will be. And if you have it turned on and you select a different color, it'll stay whatever color you had selected previously until you turn it off and back on again. So see, it's still blue and I've selected green. So if I turn it off and back on again, it'll come up in the new color. So that is the green screen. I think we've covered all the we haven't covered setting markers yet, have we? Alt-G turns that off as a hotkey. Setting markers. So as you select each one of these windows, you see the in queue and the out queue. But let's say you want to set a custom in queue for this first window over here, and we want to set it. Let's pause right here with this cute little kid on the snowmobile. And we want to, oh, that's almost near the end of the file, but heck with it. We'll hit the Shift key and I. And what that does is it sets a new in queue for this video only. With the Shift key sets an individual video. So whatever video window is selected, you'll see the tracker change, and all of this information will change to whatever video window you have selected. So now I've set my in queue to be here down near the end at about 1:58 seconds. A minute and 38 seconds in. So now, as I'm playing, all the other videos continue to play. Now when I hit Q to queue things up, it's going to queue it right back up to wherever I just set it, and all the rest of them are queuing up at the beginning. So you can set a custom in queue and out queue, which it will loop between on each individual window. Plus you can set a global in queue. So let me set this one back to the beginning here. So let me click back here at the beginning and hit Shift I to move my in queue back to there. But let's say I want to queue them all up to the beginning of each file, and we're going to be starting about 30 seconds in. Each one of these is longer than about a minute or 2 minutes, so none of them will have looped by then. So we go down here and we're at 12 seconds, 13 seconds, 14 seconds. Now they're all playing, and I want to set a global queue. We started our last take at the top of all of them, and our take is about, a minute long, but we're going to pick it up at about 30 seconds in. So now I'll pause right here, and I'll hold down the Control key and hit I. Now what that does is it sets the in queue now for all of the videos to wherever they are at this moment in time. So they're all about 31 seconds in. So if I look over here, click on the different videos, you see each one of them is about the same distance from the in queue. Now you see the tracker and the in queue jumping around because it's proportional to the length of each file that we're clicking on, so it'll move around because it's relative to the length of the file. But they're all sitting at that in queue now. So I could be playing along now, and it's time to re-queue. We're going to go back to our new queue, which is back here at the 30-second mark. Whenever I hit the C key, it'll go back to the new in queue, which is 30 seconds in, and be ready to play. So now I can start them all in sync 30 seconds in, and they will match exactly where they all were at 30 seconds in the previous shot, let's say, if you have to resynchronize them all. So that's important if you're trying to match continuity. A lot of times they don't care, and as long as they're looping and there's an image up there, it's fine. So, and like I say, each one of these will loop and come back to that in queue at a different point in time because they're different lengths. So unless I set a common in queue, out queue, which would be Control O for all of them, and then you'd see them all reset at the same time, so you'd see kind of a jump cut. So it's best to have them all re-queue at different times so that you don't see them all change simultaneously when they wrap around to the beginning again. So that is global setting the in queue. You can also set bookmarks. So if I set a bookmark, now I didn't save any of these, but I'll talk about that in a sec. If you want to set a bookmark, you can go into any one of these files and click around, and let's say I'll set my in queue. Oops. We'll set my, come on mouse, I'm trying to drag it and it's getting off the controller. Okay, I'll set my in queue back here with a Shift I, and let's say I want to set a memory marker to this point where this car is, so I'll hit Shift F1. So my in queue is still back here, but when I hit F1, this video will jump to its bookmark. So I can set an F1 bookmark for many files. So let's set an F1 bookmark for the program file over here. So let's hit play to play down somewhere else. We've switched the program file. I can jump to a different spot. There's Hillary. There's Ted Cruz. Okay, let's say we want to, oops, go back a little bit. Let me see Ted Cruz come up. Right there. Okay, I'm going to set a bookmark on number 2. So I'll hit Shift. Now the other bookmark was F1, so I want to set an F1 bookmark here. That could be an F2 bookmark, so I could have different bookmarks for the left screen and the right screen. Or I could have the same bookmark for both screens, but different positions. So if I set an F1 bookmark for screen 2 at this point, now if I hit Q, that queues them all up at the beginning, and now since I set both the top left screen and the right screen to both of them have an F1 bookmark set, whenever I hit F1, they'll jump to their respective F1 bookmark positions and sync up and play from that point. So you can see there's Ted Cruz and there's the car. Both of them I set with my function, my F1 bookmark. And the rest of the videos are not affected. They're continuing to play from wherever they were. So you can use the F key bookmarks to synchronize multiple videos in different windows with each other. So you can pick a common sync point and jump to that. Or you can use a different bookmark. I could set if I set F2 for the window 2 and F1 for window 1, I could jump to either bookmark at any time individually for each window. So it's kind of complex to think out, but just think of there's up to 12 bookmarks that can be set for each video here. They can either be global or individual, and of those 12 bookmarks you can set multiple windows. So you can set a F1 bookmark for 3 of the windows and an F2 bookmark for 3 other windows. And so whenever you hit F1, the first 3 windows would jump to that bookmark, and whenever you hit F2, the second 3 windows would jump to their respective F2 bookmarks. Those bookmarks don't have to be the same from window to window. Oh, it's so complex. All right. Once you've set some custom bookmarks and a start and an end queue, click on this little save button that's over here right above the pink volume thing. Once you click save, it creates a file which it stores in the same whatever folder you have open last. Okay, wherever you loaded your videos from, usually it will save this INF file. It's called TWMV9INF. And what that is if I were to quit right now, the program normally saves the names, all the video files, their names, and the colors and things, and the layout. But it doesn't save as any custom markers that I've loaded or moved, changed. So if I've changed some start marks or anything like that, they'll all be set back to the beginning and ends of the files. You can see here, I don't have my bookmarks in here that I had before. But if I'd hit save, and I did, I'll go back here and here I'll clear all the videos just so that you can see what's happening. And I'll hit TWMV9INF, double click on that, so like you're loading a video file. And what it'll do, when I saved, it saved all the video file names, it saved the colors, and it also saved all the custom in queues and out queues. So now I can see I have a, if I hit C to queue up, it goes back to my custom in queues, and if I hit F1, it'll go, remember those 2 bookmarks I had set on the program in preview, they're back. So now I can go back to any custom bookmarks I set or any custom I/O queues that if I moved an out queue or an in queue on any one of the videos, they'll come back. So remember to hit save. It always saves it with the same name. So if you want to save this project and the layout and the start marks, you can then go into just the file browser in Windows and change the name of this. Leave the INF as a file name extension, but change it to name whatever the name of your setup is, and then you can browse to that newly named setup and load it at any time. But whenever you hit save, it'll create this new file called mwmb9inf, and so it'll always overwrite that file every time you hit the save button. So whenever you hit save, that'll be the last setup. Will be that file name. And if you rename that file name, it won't save over the top of it, since it'll be saving to that same file name each time. Okay, I think that covered just about everything. We covered scaling, and you know what Always on Top does. Oh, I didn't talk about cropping. When you're in the scale mode, so that your window's scalable, like I say, it doesn't drag around. You gotta be careful about trying to drag it around in scale mode. And let me freeze frame everything because I'm going to be scaling here and cropping. So in scale mode, you scale the window to whatever size and layout you want, and then you can turn on crop. And what crop does is let you move any one of the corners of the screen or sides of the screen in without rescaling the videos. So that now I have this oddly shaped window, but the videos are still scaled to be however the window size was before I turned on crop. So this is, if you want to create a custom layout with the parts of one of the other layouts, you can scale it first with scale or full screen, and then scale it to whatever size you want, and then turn on crop. So crop won't just basically what happens is crop turns off the scaling and lets you bring the borders of the window in, so I could have one big window and two smaller windows using the crop mode. But if I were to go back to scale and then change the size of the window, you'll notice it'll scale the entire window back down to whatever size you have and put all the videos back in there again. So it turns the auto scaling back on. So that's how crop works. You have a lock keyboard here that's similar to lock keyboard in the other players, so when that's turned on, none of your hotkeys will work. If you're using this to play back on a laptop or something where the actor has to be able to pretend they're typing, you can turn on a lock keyboard and then hide the menu. Now I'm typing on the keyboard and nothing's happening, but it's just continuing to play loops, so they can pretend to play. And then you have a couple of key controls that you can then control it over the net remote. You can start, stop, go to black, recue it independently of anything that the actor is doing. Now, once you turn off the hotkeys, well, how do you turn it back on? How do you get your remote key back up to uncheck that checkbox of lock keyboard? Well, you got to hit Alt-L, and that should unlock the keyboard. Now, I think it's Alt-L. Oh, let me select it. Make sure you've selected your Alt-L. If it doesn't come up, try Alt-L again. Let me see. Maybe it's Control-L. Maybe it doesn't work. Let's see. Maybe, oh, it's because I'm in, let's see, Alt-F for full screen. And then R. L-R. Anyway, it should come up when you hit Alt-L. Alt-K. No, it's Alt-K. Sorry. It's Alt-K is for keyboard. That's what I forgot. So Alt-L is loop. And that's why I've turned off looping by hitting Alt-L. So that's why these videos are running out here. So I hit Alt-L to turn loop back on, and then restart them, and then they'll all start again. My mistake. It's Alt-K turns on the keyboard lock on and off. There we go. Problem solved. All right, that concludes, I think. If you want to quit and start anew, remember to clear all videos before you quit. That way, next time you start, it won't go missing, and you've pulled your media card and gone on to another project. Just remember to hit clear all videos, and then before you quit, because then that'll clear out everything and then save it, and it'll just come up with blank windows next time it's launched. Otherwise, it's going to start looking for those videos, and if they've disappeared, you may get an error. You just may get blank, blank screens if it can't find any of the videos that you've chosen to start up there. I think that covers just about everything. We'll cover Net Remote on another time. Mute all mutes all the sound, and when you adjust the sound, whatever sound is selected, whichever window is selected, will adjust the sound for that particular. Here, we'll turn it on. You can listen to it. So mute all kills all of them. Then if I select a window, like this guy over here on the right, and then as soon as I change the volume control, you'll have control over that particular video. And when you choose this 1+5 or 1+7, that will automatically turn on the sound for the big screen, the bigger screen, and turn off the sound on all the smaller screens. And 2+8, 1+7 and 1+5 will do that. So even if I've muted all of them, if I change to a layout 1+7, it'll unmute this screen and or 1+5 and mute all the rest of them. And if I go by 3x3 here, and change the volume on each one of these screens, it'll turn on the sound of all of them as I go to each screen and adjust it. You can bring in video. You can bring in sound from all of them at once if you want to. Alt-M, it's an important key to remember, mutes all of them until you change to a layout that has a big screen. Okay, that I think covers everything. I've covered I think just about everything. All right, so that concludes the tutorial for the TechnoWeenies Multiview 9. Next up, we're going to take a look at triple screen, which is also a multi-viewer, but with only 3 screens, and it's quite a bit different than this because rather than one window, it uses 3 windows, but we'll get into that in its tutorial. So thanks for watching, and tune in to the others.